The times we were living in at that moment, the way that he had divided the country and some of the things that was coming out of his mouth, I don't know.
Today, we're talking about the biggest rap legend ever. You've all heard the name Eminem, Marshall Mathers. You've probably also heard some of his hit records, but what you don't know is how deep this man's political battles go. Eminem has gone toe-to-toe with some of the most powerful people in politics. From Donald Trump to George W. Bush, his hit list of political takedowns is as controversial as it gets. But what on earth did Eminem do to get the Secret Service involved? How does a rapper go from dropping bars to being seen as an actual threat to the President of the United States? We're a brand new channel, so we really appreciate your support. If you like our content and want to see more, please click the subscribe button and get notified when we post new videos. Thanks for watching. Trump trauma. Eminem's political outbursts go crazy. His lyrical attacks have always been explosive, but when he dropped his 2017 freestyle The Storm, it was a declaration of war against then-President Donald Trump. In front of the BET Hip Hop Awards audience, Eminem unleashed an almost 4-minute rant against Trump. He spit venom about Trump's policies on immigration, his controversial handling of white supremacy, and even his obsession with NFL protests. The final message was pretty freaking clear. Any fan of mine who supports Trump, I'm drawing a sand in the line. You're either for or against. This freestyle was the equivalent of throwing a grenade into the political landscape, but it wasn't just some random off-the-cuff rap. Eminem had built up to this point for years. The build-up. You see, Slim Shady had been making enemies in the political world long before Trump was even in the picture. Back in the Bush era, the man was still spitting fire. In his 2004 track Mosh, he went after George W. Bush and his administration's decision to invade Iraq. The song was all about rallying people to vote Bush out of office. And it wasn't just subtle jabs. No, this was Eminem at his angriest, demanding the government answer for the blood spilled over oil. He ripped apart Bush's motives, saying things like, "Let the president answer a higher anarchy. Strap him with an AK-47. Let him go fight his own war. Let him impress daddy that way." And later when the BET freestyle against Trump came out, it was just another chapter in the long book of Eminem's war against political figures. The most ironic diss. But let's circle back to that Donald Trump diss, because honestly that moment became one of the most iconic. It wasn't just fans who reacted, Trump supporters and conservative members came after him hard. Eminem drew a line between himself and anyone who sided with the president. Trump never responded directly, but his base definitely took notice. Eminem's fearlessness had drawn a clear divide in his fan base. He was willing to risk it all, his reputation, his sales, his legacy, to call out Trump. His 2018 album Kamikaze followed this up with more indirect jabs at Trump's presidency, but by then, Eminem had already made his position crystal clear. There was no going back, and for Eminem, that was just fine.
People literally just trashed this. They trashed this album. There was a huge fucking backlash of, oh man, this ain't what we want to hear. It sounds too polished and all this shit.
Secret Service gets involved.
That's why he wants us to disband, because he cannot withstand the fact we're not afraid of Trump.
But Trump wasn't the only politician on Eminem's hit list. In 2003, Slim dropped his track We As Americans. In this song, he boldly rapped, "I'd rather see the president dead," which was so controversial that the Secret Service even got involved. Yep, the government was actually investigating whether this was a legitimate threat. It was edgy, raw, and classic Eminem. He didn't care who got mad or what kind of trouble he stirred up. Eminem was all about speaking his mind, no matter the consequences. And speaking of consequences, he wasn't only taking on politicians. Eminem also took a swipe at the NRA and gun culture in America. Back in the day, he was pro-gun rights, but as the years went by, especially after incidents like the Las Vegas mass shooting, Eminem had a change of heart. In his track The Storm, he blasted Trump not just for his policies, but also for ignoring the gun control debate. He even threw shade at Trump for focusing on smaller issues like the NFL protests while ignoring gun violence. And yet, despite all this, Eminem has never claimed to be affiliated with any political party. Nature of politics? He's not a Democrat, and he's certainly no Republican. Instead, he seems to represent a fed-up section of America that's tired of politicians, period. His fight isn't just against one person or one party, it's against any system or leader he feels is exploiting power, whether it's Bush's invasion of Iraq or Trump's divisive rhetoric. But that's not to say his political rants didn't ruffle feathers. Oh, they did. In fact, every time Eminem dropped a politically charged song, the media and public went wild. He's been called everything from a liberal hero to an out-of-control rapper. But if there's one thing we know about Eminem, it's that he thrives on controversy. It fuels him. I mean, let's not forget about his clash with Fox News commentators, particularly after he started targeting Trump. Fox News hosts were quick to slam him, calling his lyrics disrespectful and dangerous. But of course, this wasn't going to stop him. In true Slim Shady style, he doubled down, telling his critics to shut the up. He even challenged them on live television, questioning their hypocrisy and how they chose to defend Trump at every turn. It was a media storm that spiraled into weeks of heated debate.
Up. Now.
Not just words. Eminem's response to his political rivals wasn't just about words. He performed his anti-Trump freestyle in Detroit, his hometown, further solidifying his image as the voice of blue-collar America who felt ignored and betrayed by politicians. He stood firmly in opposition to the system, and it wasn't just performative. Fans who had grown up alongside him could feel the frustration seething in his lyrics, and it resonated. Then there's the Machine Gun Kelly drama. While not directly political, this feud stirred plenty of emotions in the public eye. In Kill Shot, Eminem roasted MGK for, among other things, his brash comments on political issues. The beef was personal, but MGK was quick to throw punches back, suggesting Eminem was out of touch with the younger, more politically active generation. This rivalry played out for months, with many drawing connections between Eminem's disdain for authority and the younger rapper's rebellion. Even in personal battles, Eminem can't escape the political firestorm. Man behind the music. Now, before we wrap up, let's take a moment to look at the man behind the music. Born in St. Joseph, Missouri in 1972 and raised mostly in Detroit, Eminem's early life was anything but easy. Growing up in a trailer park with his single mother Debbie, he faced non-stop hardship. His father abandoned the family when he was just a baby, leaving Eminem to endure a rocky, often abusive childhood. They constantly moved between rundown neighborhoods, and young Marshall became an easy target for bullying in school. By the time he was in his teens, his family's financial struggles were worse than ever, leading him to drop out of school at age 17 after failing the 9th grade 3 times. But even back then, Eminem had one escape: hip-hop. His love for rap developed early, and by the late 80s, he was battling in Detroit's underground rap scene, where the odds were stacked against him as one of the only white rappers. But he used his brutal upbringing as fuel for his music. He rose to fame by turning personal pain into some of the most insane rap lyrics the world had ever heard. His albums, from the Slim Shady LP to the Eminem Show, defined a whole era of hip-hop. But as Eminem grew, so did his willingness to dive into more mature themes. Gone were the days of just shock value and outrageous humor. He evolved, especially in his later albums, to include broader social and political commentary. His place in rap history is undeniable, but clearly he's not just a rapper. He represents a whole culture. From the trailer parks of Detroit to the heights of global superstardom, he's used his voice to challenge the status quo, and that includes the political arena. Whether you love him or hate him, one thing's for sure: when Eminem speaks, the world listens. And as long as there's drama in the world, you bet Slim Shady will be there to call it out.